The front of the device, behind a protective shield fitted with glowing lamps and brass metalwork, housed a central column and handles, with the padded two-person seat set behind it. The centre of the platform held the engine, a series of slowly rotating discs that discharged sparks into a transformer, while the rear was a flatbed cart on which our cargo, covered and tied down with a tarred canvas, rested. In the dim glow of the electrostatic discharge, I familiarised myself with our surroundings. Were it not for the water, the mouldy tide-marked walls and the absence of oil lamps, I would have declared that it matched the exact chamber we had departed from only moments earlier. Rising from the platform, I caught our electrically distorted reflection in the water, two dark, insect-like figures made sinister by our strange clothes. We each wore similar costumes, long black coats, vulcanised gloves, black boots, and a purpose-made mask that combined protective goggles with a complex breathing apparatus that enveloped our mouths and noses. These masks were connected by thin tubes to small oxygen cylinders attached to the dark webbing harnesses that fitted over our coats. Reaching up to remove my mask, I recoiled as my first breath took in the fetid air that filled the chamber. "Good Lord, it stinks," I remarked, stifling a retch as I fought to control my breathing. As I pulled the mask from my head, my fingers briefly settled upon the signature accessory of my profession, a dog collar. To the right, my taller companion adjusted the speed of the electrostatic dynamo, diverting power to the pair of large incandescent lanterns fixed at the front of the sled. As the room slowly filled with yellow light, he slipped his own mask away to reveal his high, domed forehead and sharp, penetrating features. He was a man of middle age, gaunt, and, based upon the manner in which he surveyed the chamber, somewhat sinister. "That would be the sewers, Reverend," he said dispassionately. "London is still afflicted by the great stink, and it seems that I did not anticipate the higher water table. A few inches more water, and we would have been poached." "I don't like this, Professor," I said, still suffering the after-effects of the journey. "These are dark forces you're messing with." "Dark forces?" My companion smiled thinly, taking up his silver-topped cane before stepping from the sled and into the ankle-deep water. "I suppose that's an improvement on talk of the divine. I would have thought the things we've seen would have changed your perspective by now. For all its beauty, the universe is nothing more than the elegant numerical outcome of a stochastic process, a random construct." I shook my head at the words. "Your numbers are beyond me." "And yet my numbers created the miracle that brought us here. Instead of interpreting superstitious texts, you should have mastered your algebra. Mathematics helps us to understand the patterns of the cosmos, and with that knowledge, change can be effected." At that moment, a disembodied voice echoed around the chamber. "Who's there?" It was an Irish accent, more pronounced than my companion's, suggesting a lower class. I placed it as Northern Irish, and determined that it had come from outside, above us. The Professor turned to me, pressing a slender finger to his lips and ushering me to investigate, while slipping his other hand into one of his pockets. Stepping down from the sled, I plunged into the icy water and cautiously waded across the chamber towards the source of the voice, an arched stone recess in the far corner of the room. The stone slabs were slippery with sludge, and I found myself using both the side of the sled and the walls to steady myself until I reached my destination. Here I could see the small grill ahead and the silhouette of the lanky Irishman that stood beyond. "Who wants to know?" I asked. "The name's Gagan, Father," he said. There was caution in his tone, but his voice seemed confident and without malice. "It's a heck of a commotion you're creating down here. What's going on?" There had been no agreed explanation, and I was unused to thinking on my feet in such situations. As I opened my mouth to speak, my companion spoke for us. "Michael Gagan, is it?" he said. Incredulous, I turned to see that he had set aside his walking stick and was consulting a small pocketbook, like a Jewish broker reckoning his debts. Thumbing through his notes, he quickly settled on a page midway through the book. "I know you." The look on the Irishman's face changed into one of caution and suspicion. "How so?" he asked. "You came to London, 6 or 7 years ago? Shortly after the Battle of Dolly's Brae? A ribbonist, if I recall correctly." I could see Gagan's face fall at being so discovered. The Professor has the uncanny ability to use what knowledge he has to exert power over those around him, and to see him do it so casually sent a shiver down my spine. I was later to learn that Gagan had told no one of his troubles in Ireland, and that his foolish decision to fire a shot into the air had started a battle that ended with 6 of his countrymen dead. Ostracised in his hometown of Magramayo, he had fled the taunts of his homeland and tried to lose himself in the slums of Holborn. "Who are you? How would you know that?" "The name is Moriarty," the Professor smiled, his reptilian eyes unwavering as he locked his gaze upon the Irishman. "And I make it my business to know these things. Let him in, Reverend. He's a decent lad. He can be trusted." "Trusted?" Gagan spat the word out. I stood aside to let them speak, glancing at my companion, whose own unblinking eyes gave nothing away. Gagan, however, chose to break the gaze and turn his own eyes upon me. "Father here is a Protestant." The venom in the words was transparent, and I almost flushed with embarrassment as I realised that I might be seen as a greater threat than my godless companion. "Welsh nonconformist as it happens," I said defensively. "You see," Moriarty smiled coldly, "religion just creates conflict, Reverend. Come inside, Michael. The father here is a gentle soul, and you'll get no conflict from him. In fact, this is holy ground. Why don't you come